Hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Teens Reality. We are still on our ongoing topic, parental supervision. I am your host, Pastor Odo Mobi, and we are going to be taking our time to discuss once again what parents must be ready to do. We've taken our time to establish what parental supervision is, why it is important, who a parent really is, you understand, the place, the function, the roles they carry out, good, that makes you a parent. Then we took our time to understand effective supervision strategies that can be employed in monitoring your child. Now, we want to look into what a parent must be ready to do, because it's not enough to just say, okay, I'm ready to assume the role of being a parent to my teenager. I'm ready to sit, because some of you might be watching this video and it's making you reflect. And ask yourself, have I truly been raising my child the right way? Have I been doing all I'm supposed to do? Have I truly been there? Have I been committed to grooming that child, grooming my teenager, and building in them the right kind of character? If you're asking those questions, please, you're on a good path. Just stay on it and you will get the answers as you stay tuned to this show. Alright, so there are things each parent must be ready to do. Number one, the parent must be ready to be firm. Your word must be treated as something to be obeyed. That they, I'm referring to your teenagers now, are made to see why it is beneficial to them. Those words, the word you give to them, your instructions, the boundaries, the rules you set. You cannot have your teenagers thinking that, mom says I'm to do this or do that, and if I don't do it, it doesn't matter. No, you have to be firm. I've given this instruction, I've set down these rules. They are beneficial for you. I'm not gonna change it. You will not be the kind of parent that can be coerced. You understand? Or I think because some parents, children may use emotional blackmail. Perhaps for parents who have been absent for most of the time, so suddenly you come home and now you want to sit up, you want to truly be involved. And the teenager begins to tell you, oh, you're ready to take care of me now. Where were you all this while? What have you been doing? You didn't care before. Why do you care now? Even if your teenager comes at you with that tone, don't be offended. Still be firm with those rules you are trying to put in place. It is for their benefit. It is for their safety. It is for their development, healthy development. So be firm. Don't adjust your words. As long as you know that you are not in error, you didn't set rules that cripple them, that deny them what are their natural rights. Be firm. Insist on it. Insist on it. It will let them know that words spoken are not idle. They have a purpose. And that when they are carried out in that way, they have a long-term benefit to play in their lives. So be firm. You must be ready to be firm. Number two, exercise discipline. There must be strict adherence to laid out ground rules and work, things like chores, school, activities, church. Strict adherence to them. Exercise discipline. What does it mean? My father was fond of always saying one thing, that self-discipline is the best form of discipline. Now, before your teenagers come to the point where they are disciplined by their own self, you are called upon to assume that role. You discipline them, you let them know. Things must follow a due order. Why? If things are in their proper place, it doesn't mean that there is no room for flexibility, like maybe you must be too rigid in maybe being stiff in giving out love. No. I don't want to misquote or misunderstand this, because some parents or teenagers now, depending on how they are thinking, might not think, if everything is all about rules, is there any room for mistakes? There are room for mistakes. No one is perfect right now. People make mistakes. You understand? But the idea is this. If things are supposed to be done at a particular time, they should be done at that time. You are creating in your child a respect for discipline, an ability to manage him or her own self. When a child begins to respect the fact that chores are to be done and they are done because I'm helping mom, I'm helping dad. The child is even made to understand that one day I'm going to be a parent myself. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to have a job. What happens if I come back home and I feel like I have a teenager who can do certain things and that teenager chooses to remain idle? How would you feel as a parent? So you ask your teenager that when you get to the point of being a parent and you begin to experience such, would you really like your own child to treat you this way? Sometimes you ask them this question, it makes them reflect, it makes them ponder. Because remember, they are not going to remain teenagers forever. They are in a growth process, eventually become young adults who will one day marry and raise homes themselves. You understand? They will run homes, they will birth children or adopt children, whichever the case may be. So let them know discipline, exercise discipline. Teach them to value time. Teach them to value what needs to be done. Their school, those hours they spend in school. Teach them how to manage their time with their discipline enough to listen to the teacher, to be sure that those hours they are putting in, they are getting a valuable return for it. You do not want a teacher who tells you, okay, I'm going off to school, but during those 7 or 8 hours in school, they cannot account for what they actually learned or took into themselves. They cannot say that, okay, this is actually what I have retained. No discipline of mind, no discipline of body. So exercise discipline until they come to the point where they can begin to be disciplined themselves. Next, loving correction. Loving correction. Not everything must escalate into a fight. Be patient to show them why they were wrong and how to do better. The first option must not be open warfare. Getting into fisticuffs. Like in Nigeria, there are some parents, the first sign of no, backhand, there is a slap, and that hits that child. And if you see some kind of skits, some comedy shows, and some children the beatings over time, they become inured to it. It doesn't make any difference any longer. And you don't want your teenager to come to the point where a certain level of correction you've been applying is no longer effective. It's not like water off a duck's back. When you beat a child repeatedly for every offense, without taking time to explain to that child why what they did was wrong or why you are trying to correct them on how to do better, over time they just think, if I do wrong, I'll be beaten, and that's all. I'll be reprimanded, I'll be scolded, I'll be shouted, screamed at, cursed at. Because some parents, you downgrade it to using curses. And many times, children will speak curses if they hear it in your mouth all the time. If you're in a home where you don't sanction curses, even when they go out, it would have been bred into your children that you don't like curse words being used in your home. Now, I remember growing up, being raised by my father, and he didn't want us to switch into the vernacular, what is known as pidgin English. So I grew up for the first few years of my life, formative years of my life, speaking only English. By the time I went to boarding school in my secondary level, and I heard pidgin being spoken for the first time, I was quite surprised. I was like, what were they saying? Now, I eventually had to understand what pidgin meant, what the literal translation of pidgin into good English was, so that at least I could flow with them. But over time, every time I came back home, I was conscious of the fact that my dad did not want to hear me speak such in the home. That was the boundaries he had set. That was the rule he had set. For him, he wanted to raise someone who could speak well. You understand? Speak well. He did not want my speech and my performance to suffer. He wanted me to appreciate good words. I made mention of the fact that he and my mom introduced to me early on a love for books, a love for reading. So, correction can be given to your children, and it should be done in a loving manner. Be firm about it, but let them know why they did what they did wrong before you go directly into giving harsh punishments. In fact, when you say you have first offenders, they are first offenders, then they are repeat offenders. The law does not treat these two people in the same way. Legally, they don't treat them the same way. So please, Don't treat your teenagers as your enemies. Be careful. Don't treat them as your enemies. Number 4, you must be patient and understanding. You must be able to be patient and understanding. Know that. Know each child by personal study and know how to work with them. I made mention of the fact that each of your children are not the same. Some might respond to what you say quicker than others. Some will mature faster. Some will be better academically at some subjects than the others. It doesn't mean the other ones are any lesser. So by personal study, it must be a deliberate and conscious effort on your part. I want to understand my teenager. What are their interests? What are their strengths? What are their skills? There are some of you right now who have teenagers who might not be outstanding in some subjects that you wish they would. But suddenly you see a teenager who is caring and who is kind. Please treasure that teenager. Nurture that in that child. That caring nature, that kind nature. Nurture it in your child. So know them. And don't try to force your kids into doing that which they have no aptitude for. There is a lot of things that can be explored in the world. A whole lot. You're in a position to guide them in their decision making. Help them weigh the pros and the cons. And this you can do when you've studied them. And now your teenager comes to you, okay, mom, I think I'm interested in learning this. And you ask them, okay, why? Don't just say no. Many times when you tell them no outright, it provokes in them a desire that since you said no, I must do it. Something that has that kind of contrary nature, and you do not want that in your child. A contrary nature. You don't want that in your child. So you don't want a child being provoked into doing that thing you know you did not want them to do. So be careful in how you speak to them. Be patient and be understanding. Alright, we're going to go for a quick break, and when we return, we will continue. Remember, the number to reach out to us on WhatsApp, Telegram, or TikTok is +234 813 929 2708. Send an email to teensreality@lifechangerstouch.org. Do stay tuned. We will be back shortly. Hello, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the maiden edition of Teens Reality TV show. I am your host, Pastor Udo. Our vision is to create a new brand of teenagers who can get to understand who they are, who they were created to be by God, and helping them navigate this life easily by His help. It is so important. Alright, welcome back from that quick break. We're still talking about what the parents must be ready to do. You've made the decision to be a hands fully on board parents, and right now your teenager is looking up to you. Remember, they're going to be observing and watching out for your consistency, your commitment. If your teenager has observed that you're someone who tends to pull out after some time, you understand, they might not give you much attention. But when you let them know earlier that, okay, mom, dad is sitting up, we're taking this serious because we care about you, we want the best for you, you see them also bring their A game to the table. The next thing the parent must be able to do is carrot and stick, what we call the reward and punishments. Reward good behavior, punish bad ones. Time out, spanks if need be, withdrawal of certain privileges. Spare the rod and spoil the child. You can even grounding the child. These are different things you can try out. What do you mean by timeouts? I use this to refer to screen timeouts. Sometimes of screen time, it might be that your teenager reacts rudely or fails to do a particular chore due to the fact that they were spending time on their devices when they were not supposed to. They didn't do a homework, they didn't do their chores. And then give them a timeout from that screen, from that device. You can also ground the child. If a child perhaps lied to you and went somewhere they were not supposed to go to, you can limit their movement for a certain period of time. A week, or two, even a month. It depends on the severity of what they did, the severity of what they did. You understand the severity of what they did. You must also make sure that before you give rewards, that it is also well earned. What I mean by well earned, you don't want the one that they are lying to you about, as we made a reference to in our last episode about the young girl that was lying to her parents about having got the third place in a quiz competition, and it turned out that that competition never even held in the first place. Imagine if the parents had hastened to reward that child and it turned out to be all a lie. How do you do this? You monitor them. When you have set out your rules and your expectations for your children, and you see that they are meeting up to them, or that they are actually trying their best, you encourage them and you reward them. If they do well, they perform well on a test, they keep their rooms in order, they do well, they assist, they are kind of like innovative, very willing to think, to do some things before you have to ask them. Encourage them like, wow, I'm liking this new attitude from you. So that's what we call the carrot and the stick method. Like you reward donkey or the horse with the carrots, and the stick is when you're trying to punish it for doing something wrong. Maybe if your horse tries to throw its rider or something like that. So you must also understand, why did that child do what they did? Notwithstanding the explanation they give, some punishments must still be meted out. Not corporal punishment. Please do not kill the child. Don't, in a place of aggravation, forget the fact that they are still living beings. Ground them if need be. Withdraw certain privileges. That you know that yes, it will actually make them realize that you are serious. That they have really erred. They have stepped out of line. They have done the wrong thing and they need to get back in line with doing what is right and good for them. Please, I've said this. Don't be afraid to correct them. Don't be afraid to reprove them. I like a particular scripture in the Bible, 2 Timothy 3 verse 16. It talks about the fact that all scripture is given by inspiration of God. For what? Instruction, correction, reproof in righteousness. Righteousness talks about knowing how to live in a right way. It says that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. You're trying to raise a teenager who will be able to deal with whatever comes their way. So corrections are a must. Rewards are a must. Punishments are also a must. Discern and judge accurately. Next, you must be ready to practice what you teach. Practicing what you teach. Showing forth by example. You can't say one thing and do another. You must practice what you preach, what you teach. You cannot have told your child that it's not okay to lie to you, and you're actually lying to them and they catch you out in that lie. That's the quickest way to reinforce the fact that, oh, if mom can lie, I can lie too. That's the quickest way to reinforce that in their psyche. And you don't want a child saying, okay, I know mom is going to see this, but in reality, this is what she is going to do instead. So as a parent, please practice what you teach. Show by example. As a teenager, to be careful to also observe how your parents live. You know, many times when your parents do certain things and they try to emphasize, if your parents are all about order, discipline, and you observe that they are also orderly people and disciplined people, ask yourself, has it worked for them? If it is, why not give it a chance? Why not try it for yourself? It just might make sense. It just might make you improve your grades, sit up, choose better friends, make better use of your time. So as a parent, please practice what you teach. Don't swear if you don't want them to swear. Don't use curse words if you don't want them to use curse words. Don't hang around with the wrong party if you don't want them to hang around with the wrong party. You don't want them to do underage drinking and you come home drunk. You don't want them to do sleeping around. Maybe if you're a single parent or even those who are married and you're sleeping around. Parents, kids observe these things. They can be very sensitive to the slightest change in your behavior. The way you observe them, teenagers are observing you also. So be careful what it is that you are revealing. And I'm not saying that you should put on a mask when you're with them and do something else when you're outside. No. Be real. But be genuine. Be genuine. Next, discover their interests and gifts. Develop and encourage the teenager in the right way of pursuing it, because it's not enough to just develop it and encourage it. There is a right way of pursuing it. Let them know. No matter, you can weigh the pros and cons. When your child comes up to you, I'm interested in this, and you ask, okay, what brought about this interest? You say, okay, maybe they watched it, they saw someone else do it, they were impressed. And you ask them, okay, have they really considered it? What is it all about? It's just like some teens right now come to you, perhaps they're preparing for university, for college, and they're thinking of applying for this course, this major, and you're like, why that course, why that major? And they begin to share with you, okay, this is why. You can also begin to share with them what you think about it. And then, from your own personal observation of them, if your child comes to you and tells you about a course or a major they want to go in for, and you realize that is not their strength, please, you are well advised as a counselor at that point to tell them that, okay, it might be nice, but apart from interest, so something my father used to say, apart from interest, there must be aptitude. Interest and aptitude. So a kid, your teenager can be interested in something. Do they have the aptitude for it? Or are they willing to build the aptitude? Are they willing to put in the hard work? It's not enough to be interested in something. At the end of the day, you're failing miserably at it consistently without any sign of improvement. So develop interest in what they are doing. Observe what they are doing. If they are changing friends, changing extracurricular activities, maybe they are phasing out of one and phasing into a new one. Understand it and go with the flow while still guiding them. You understand? While still guiding them. Alright. Next. You must be committed. It's commitment and diligence. Commitment and diligence. Make quality time to follow up on what you start with your teenagers. What you have started with them. The rule setting, the supervision, the controls, the monitoring. Please don't start and stop halfway. We made mention of that in our previous episode. They are looking to your commitment and your diligence. It says, the Bible says, seest thou a man diligent in all his ways, he shall not stand before mean men, he shall stand before kings. Your goal is to raise children who will one day stand before kings. Not be ashamed, not be intimidated. Who will be bold to speak the truth righteously. Who will be bold enough to represent strong family values. Who will to represent the Lord where they find themselves. So you, by showing commitment and diligence, will instill in them the same values, instill in them the same morals. Finally, timeliness and orderliness. Timeliness and orderliness. They should respect timings to all family events and school. There's some example, family events in school. Timeliness and orderliness. You respect it, they should respect it also. Emphasize to them timeliness and orderliness for it. If you are timely and you are orderly, and they see it in how you approach your day-to-day activities, it will instill in them a desire for punctuality. Imagine when you see some videos nowadays trending of Gen Z showing up late to interviews and expecting the employers or interviewers to wait for them. And there is no sense of apology for the fact that they missed out on doing what they ought to do. The teenager wants to get a part-time job, doesn't think he or she needs to dress well, appear in a manner that speaks well of him or her, doesn't show up on time, and expects to be treated with respect. Please tell that teacher that she or she should not expect that. They'll be treated how they represent themselves. So for you parents, are you ready to do all these things that have been listed out? If you are set on the way to raising a great teenager. You are set on the way to raising a great teenager. Alright, we have spent quite a lot of time discussing what parents ought to do. Teenagers, for yourself, please also take note of this. Observe this. If your parents are doing this and they are committed, please work together with them. Work together with them. They want the best for you. They want the very best for you. Alright, till we come your way next time, I remain your host, Pastor Don Wobi, saying to you that you can still reach out to us using the number +234 813 929 2708. Reach out to us freely on the WhatsApp platform, Telegram, TikTok, or send an email directly to teensreality@lifechangerstouch.org. Thank you so much for your time today. Bye-bye.